This is going to be the first tutorial project video that I'm going to post on my blog and on YouTube. So I just wanted to begin by showing you what we're going to do. I was a little frustrated. I got my everything together, did the first segment of this video, and a few segments later discovered that I hadn't taped it. I had thought I had turned the camera on and hadn't. So other than showing you how to do the first part, I'm just going to walk through it. If you look at my blog on an earlier post, I believe it's called a journal or something like that, you'll see this journal that I made. It's called My Favorite Things. A little bit of background on it. I was so excited when I first heard about the Smashbooks. I thought they looked like a lot of fun. I really wanted one by K & Company. K & Company is one of my favorite companies to buy paper from. And so I was so excited when I saw it. And then they became so popular that they were very difficult to get a hold of. And only one company in the state that I live in had K & Company or had planned to carry that. And so they didn't have it yet. And in the meantime, I got to watching some of my favorite YouTube videos, and Yoli Bean, who I subscribe to here on YouTube, posted her, she called it a junk journal. I'll put the link down in the comment section so you can see where to get it. And when I saw how she had done it, I really liked it. So I decided I'm going to make one for myself and save myself a few bucks. And I still use K & Company paper. So to start with, what you need is a composition book. Now, this is just a simple composition book like what we've all had as kids in school. I get mine from the dollar store, so I only have to pay $1 for them. And by the time it's done, it doesn't even look like the same book. So I get my normal 100-sheet composition book just from the dollar store. I then chose some papers. As I mentioned, I love K & Company. This is one of my favorite collections by K & Company. It's a Brenda Walton designer paper. Just beautiful. There's not much left in this at this point because I've used it on my journal and then for this journal for my friend that I'm making. But just beautiful floral. They've got birds and butterflies, eggs, flowers. Just a beautiful collection. And I'll use other items from the collection for the journal that you'll see in a different segment as well. I also used from Die Cuts with a View the Rustic Stack. It's a great paper collection, beautiful papers. This journal is a surprise for a friend, and when I asked her husband her favorite colors, he told me lavender and cranberry. I did some shopping for the lavender and cranberry, trying to find a collection that kind of incorporated both. Those two colors aren't commonly seen together, so I decided for this book I'm going to go more with the lavender side. Besides that, I love purple and I can use it, but these has some really pretty purple papers in it. There's some green green background with some lavender paisleys, and I'll be using that too. Quick view of some of the papers from those collections. This is one of the from the K & Company. This is some of the scrap from these different papers that I will be using for this book. This one is also from the Die Cuts with a View stack, the K & Company. This is the front side. The back side is also patterned. And so sometimes I'll use the front and sometimes I'll use the back. This is an embossed paper from the Rustic Stack from Die Cuts with a View. This is one of the Die Cuts with a View kind of purpley papers. I'm not sure where this paper came from. It's just one that I had in my stash, and I used that in this project as well. Another of the K & Company Die Cuts with a View. This is some paper that I had in my stash that I bought several years ago. I'm not sure who it's from or what the collection is. I think it's from Provocraft, back when they were doing their great big stacks that I think it had 100 and some odd pieces of paper for around $20 in it, and I think that's what this is from. This is a hot off the press paper. This one is the lavender gingham, and this is really thin, which will come in handy, and we'll talk about that more in one of the videos. This is another paper. I'm not sure where it's from, along with this one. I believe, again, that it's from Provo Craft, but I'm not 100% sure of that. This piece of paper I cut, and I actually cut it from the top, and it looks like there's a stamp in the bottom, and you'll see that in one of the videos. This is just something I picked up from a yard seller somewhere. It's from Amscam. I don't know the name of it or anything. More of that lavender gingham. This is lavender swirls from Hot Off the Press. This is just a plaid. It's called Sister Plaid. I'm not sure who makes it. I think it's Daisy D's. Picked it up from a yard sale or a scrapbook store somewhere. This is this is gingham lavender soft ticking paper. Just cute stripes. This paper is part of the K & Company collection that I showed you. The backside's blue, so it's not something I plan to use, but the front had the lavender in it. More of these scraps here from both the Die Cuts with a View and K & Company. This is the Die Cuts with a View as well. So that's the paper I'm going to use. Now, I cut each of those papers. When I measure the paper, let me grab my composition book again. I measure from top to bottom, and for my particular book, that was 9 5/8. And then I measured from side to side, and the finished side length is 7 3/8. However, when you are doing your book and you're cutting your inside pages, you need to leave 1/4 of an inch to put down on the side. And that's because as you fill your book and you glue more paper in it and you put pictures or whatever you're going to use your book for, if you're gluing quotes or whatever you want to use, the book will grow. And if your paper goes to the end of the edge of your plain paper, it will weaken the binding and your book is more likely to fall apart. And we don't want that to happen. So I cut my paper to 7 1/8 inch wide and then 9 5/8 inches for my height. I used my little, this Creative Memories corner rounder I've had for years and years. And if you notice here, the rounding matches up pretty closely here. So that just saved me some time and some trimming later. I decided which edges needed punched, and I punched them, and away I went. Got them all ready to go. Some other things that you'll need is you'll need a good glue. For the front of my cover and for my back cover, I use this Zip Dry paper glue. It's a fast drying glue, but it also helps it not get wrinkled, and it's a little bit stronger. I use my ATG for a lot of things. I love my ATG gun, but I didn't feel like the adhesive would be strong enough to stand up to the wear and tear that a book that's used would do. So I decided to use a little bit stronger adhesive and that's why I used the Zip Dry. When I was on the inside doing the inside pages, I just used the ATG. I don't feel like they'll get as much use. The other thing I did is I cut ribbon, and we'll talk about this when I tell you about it later, but just gather 6 or 7 different ribbons. I chose 7. This one actually isn't even a true ribbon. It's just a little piece of trim I just picked up at Joann's. I think it was $1.99 for 3 yards. It's got a little bit of stretchy, it's almost like cording or braided trim. And this is kind of my anchoring piece. And so this is the only one like this that I use. You want to use a thin ribbon, so I didn't want to use a lot of these because this is a little bit thicker than your normal ribbon. I also used organza ribbon. I really like organza ribbon, especially for the books. It's very, very thin. I had some from the Ribbon Trends, and I guess they call it organdy ribbon. This one's in willow. I had some regular double-faced ribbon that had the little loops on the side, also in a similar color. And I just used one of those. And then this other ribbon, the other colors that I used, are just also the organdy or organza ribbon. I've got all these pretty colors. I've got, you know, the willow that we showed you. There's some plum. It's kind of a goldish toffee color. 2 or 3 different colors of lavender that I just picked up. One of them I think I picked up at Joann's. And then the rest of these I just picked up. If you watched my haul video before, from Gifts International in California. So you want to cut these ribbons so that it will fit through the pages of the book. It's going to come around and tie up on top. Now, it will form a beautiful binding, but the purpose is not just decorative. It also has a purpose of stabilizing the book. So that gets you started on what we're doing. When I glued down my pages to my book, I'm going to show you on mine because I've already done a few steps on the other one that I don't want to show right now. But I glued down the front, and then I glued down the back. And then I also glued down the inside of my book to come. Now, this is my book. This is not what it will look like, the one that you're seeing on the video. But I did not glue down the inside of the back until showing you the next step. So if you're following along and you're making one along, just know that you're going to glue down the front, the inside cover, and the back cover, and stop. And then our next video will show you how to what the next steps are. You also can look at my previous posting on djsundries.blogspot.com, and you can see the entire finished project in written form for this book, and of course it will be similar. So keep an eye out, and we'll get the rest of the segments to this video posted, and you'll see our project come together for our journal. Thanks. Okay, I'm back, and if it looks like chaos here, it is chaos, but it's organized chaos. I just have things set up so that we can zip right through the next part of this video. I went ahead and put the back on my book, and I punched some holes, so we'll start there. Now what I did is I took my ruler and I measured out that the center was at 4 3/4 inches. I went 2.5 inches from the edge of the book in, and then 1.5 inches on either side of the center. I used my hole setter and punched holes for my eyelet set. I then found one of the colors of ribbon that I plan to use, and I was very, very generous with it. When we look back at our original book, let me grab that here. Notice that as I add pages to it, the book tends to expand. That's why I chose to put a ribbon on mine, but I needed to add plenty of ribbon so that as the book expands, so can the ribbon. So for now, it'll just be a great big bow when you tie it. So just run that ribbon through both sides, making sure to keep the line straight, just like so. And then I bring it up so that it's pretty much even here in the middle. Okay, that'll give me a nice smooth, so that when I wrap around the front, I'll be able to tie a nice big bow, and that will allow room for the book to expand as it grows.